sea turtles, division advanced, category carving, first place carving, best of division, people's choice, Southern California Gourd Society Competition 2017. You can see there's a gourd inside with a duplication of what you see here. Is best of show. And then for the California Gourd Society, it was the people's choice, where the people who come to the event vote. 2018 Gourd Peddler, Southern California Gourd Competition, best of show, and best of division. So this is under the category of weaving, and it contains all the types of weaving that you could possibly have. I think there's 7 types shown here. Kumihimo, beading, pine needle. This is a basket of seaweed weaving, horsehair, knotless netting, (2024). This is not gourds, this is fiber art. This is Woodland Elf and Frog. No handbag, take that one out of there. This is the Woodland Elf and Frog. So this is dry and wet felting. The wet felting of the skin of that particular frog. Different types of felting, all the different types that you do. Dry, wet, fulling, all shown. And then this is a turtle on a hill with moss. The presentation is on the bottom, a basket turned upside down. And then this is the award from the Orange County Fair, division winner, judges award, felting, and then it won for fiber arts, which is a very large division at the Orange County Fair. Rhino, sort of steampunk a little bit. Now, Rhino's accolades are Arizona Gourd Society, Best of Show, and then the division winner, and then, of course, in the master category, and then the granting of the Grand Master status. So this is what put me into that Grand Master status where you cannot compete anymore. So then this is what you would get, competition, Grand Master. And then the plaque below it is what you get when you show in subsequent years, that little thing you see at the bottom, when you just don't compete, but you show. You bring pieces into the shows, but you're not competing. And then Rhino also was on the cover of the 2024 Gourd magazine, I think the spring edition. An article was written in the magazine. And then I received the American Gourd Society Artistry Award. So I would say he's the top. Just give you, most of you have probably seen that, some of you have not. Give you a little close-up. The hard part of this, of course, is gourds don't bend. Hi, everybody. This is Pam, and I'm titling this, it's for gourd competition, but also anybody else that does competitions could listen to it and get some advice from it too. It's the time of the year, we're at the end of February now, where competitions are going to start happening, in, at least around me. I'm in Southern California. We have the Los Angeles County Fair, and we have the Orange County Fair. We'll have the Orange County Gourd Society's competition coming up at the end of the summer. There's the San Diego Fair. So there's all kinds of competitions happening for you if you're a gourder, but also all over the United States. If you happen to be looking at my channel, there's opportunities. And why do they have the competitions? Well, we just go to them, we think, okay, because people want to see, but why are there competitions? Well, a really good reason for them is it advances the art of anybody that has it, any type of art. Once you have a competition, you're asking people to do their best work, put it out there for other people to see, but also put it out there for it to be, the word we don't like to use, remember, we don't want to judge people, but in competitions, we do. And it advances the art because everybody's going to do their best, right? They're not going to put something horrible in there. And everything they've learned, and they do it, and they say, okay, this is what I did. And so it advances the art. And it also helps the artists because while they're doing it, they're putting everything into it. Everything they've learned, they're trying to put into it. And over the years, on all kinds of things, people who compete for offices, in clubs or government, competition is in life, I guess. And I hear a lot of people when there's competition, and I know we do it to save our souls, right? We say, well, I don't care if I win. And that's okay, because I literally don't care either, and I've won a lot in my lifetime. As the opening of this showed you, I have, a career of winning, but I didn't always. So it is about winning. I mean, it's like saying, well, I'm going to play competitive sports, but I don't care if I win. Sometimes deep inside of you, you do. If you're really honest with yourself, you say, well, it feels really good when we win. And we all feel that in life. But then there's times when we don't win. But we had some gentlemen that were in our Gourd association, and one of them was Jack. And he would say, but when you don't win, what did you learn from that? That's probably even more important. Because I would go back after I didn't win or didn't get what I thought. Why didn't I get a first? I got a third. Or why didn't I get best or whatever it was? And Jack would say, do you want me to be brutally honest with you? And I said, yes, Jack, tell me. And he'd say, well, this. And then I learned. And the next time I did better. I didn't get all crumpled and weepy and all of that kind of business. And those of us who have been in judging for a long time and have done competitions, I mean, we've seen people move ribbons around so they got a first place. I mean, that's crazy. Why would you want a ribbon you stole? It's not what you really got, right? So it brings out the worst in people and the best in people and all kinds of things. But I still think competitions are kind of important. And they also allow the public who comes to them to see something. Like when we first started showing stuff at the Orange County Fair, we had this little, almost a building, and we had windows and we had our stuff up. And I would stand there and listen, and the public would say, oh my God, I didn't know you could do this with a gourd. Or for myself, I didn't know when I became a fiber artist also that you could do this with wool. So it opens up and say, oh, I just love this. So it's helpful to the public also. So when you go out there and say, well, I really don't care if I win. Well, maybe you do a little bit, and it's okay to care. I think what's not okay is if you get so upset that you didn't. And I know you put your all into it. But it's also good to say, well, can I want to win? And I will tell people, oh no, I would like to win. The difference is I'm not going to be crushed if I don't. But I'm going to find out what about it, that I didn't. And that's how I grew over the years, from the time I first put mine in. And you also have to know, especially in the gourding world, they're very kind in their criticisms. They really try to say, this is what's good, this is what's good. And maybe they'll say something that you should work on. Well, listen to that. And the category that is in the most is intermediate. If you're an intermediate, you're going to be there for a while because that's the biggest category. Because you do novice and you can only stay in novice for a short length of time, and then you're an intermediate. And it may take you a while, or maybe you wouldn't get out of it. I know people have been in novice, intermediate for a long time, but they're learning every time they do it. And also, when you put a piece in, think about it. If nobody did, you couldn't have the competition. So you're helping the competition go forward. You're putting yourself out there. And even if you didn't win, people saw it. And they got something from it. We've had people with, the public, when they tell us what their choice award is not something sometimes we give an award to. And then we have judges awards where we let the judges say, well, I would give you something for this. So this is a very emotionally fraught thing. But many of you, if you're watching this, are probably interested in a competition. So I'm just trying to give you this, okay, this is how you go into it. It's okay to say I'd like to win. Why are you in there in the first place? Well, you want to show people, bring your family, look at what I did. I'm very, very proud of it. And then see what happens with it, and then see what the judges write. Because now sometimes, Like in the Los Angeles County, the Orange County Fair, you don't know why. They just give them out and you don't know. But in our Gourd Society, in our the California Gourd Society, the Arizona Gourd Society, the American Gourd Society, they tend to tell people, they tend to take notes and say what the feeling is, and that's great. If there's a competition where they give you notes about what happened with the judging, that's the best. If they don't, well then it's the lay of the land, which like at the Orange County Fair, they just show what you won. You just never know, right? So it all depends on the competition, but you're going to further the art, you're going to have fun doing it, you're going to get to go and see your piece of work out there. So, so develop a little bit of a thick skin, I guess, and just go out there and do it. And if we don't put things in, like the Orange County Fair right now doesn't have very many people putting things in fiber. And some of you are my students in fiber. You've taken my class, you're kind of interested in it. Well, they need people to put things in. A really good example for the Orange County Fair right now is one of the biggest things that I saw used to be at fairs years ago, and my girlfriend Debbie says it's true, was basketry. That's a big deal. People have been doing basketry for, oh my God, what, centuries? We've been there where the Orange County Fair's had 3 or 4 baskets only, if even that. It's become an almost non-category. It used to be a big category. Now it's like a miscellaneous or under something else. Well, then we have to get out there. I'm not even a basketer, but I have a few. I'm going to put some in. Because if we put some in, then the Orange County Fair says this is a viable category. It's why we want people to put stuff in Gourding. Even just put it in, please. Because then the fair sees it as a viable category, and they'll keep it. But if they get one item, I remember when I first wandered over maybe 4 years ago to the fiber table and looked at it, and I noticed felting was a very small category, and I saw, several cute things, and I said, I'm kind of interested in this. And then, but I noticed there wasn't very many people doing it, and I remember 15 so years ago, felting was a very big thing, and I think art ebbs and flows. It gets popular, not popular, and I think felting's coming back in. I hope it is. I'm a teacher. Contact me if you'd like to take some classes if you live in the Southern California area. But I'm also going to put it on my YouTube channel so you can learn that way. But it's interesting. It's just very interesting to try different types of art. But it ebbs and it flows. It's popular, it's not popular, sort of things like that. And so what I want to talk to you a little bit about today, I'm a judge. I showed you in the beginning, these are what I've done. Artistically, I've reached that level, and I've been a judge for many years. And sometimes, like for the fair, we don't know what the criteria is. We don't know who the judge is. We don't know. But for the Gourd Society, we kind of do. We have it all written out. You can know what the criteria is. But in general, I want to talk to you about when you're thinking about a competition. Some of you are doing that right now. What I'd like you to think of is, now, the people that are in master's level and advanced, I'm going to talk to you guys separately. That's a little different category. But when you're in intermediate, novice and intermediate, what you're trying to do is just do the best that you can in that category you're in. If it's painting, if it's carving, if it's, whatever you're picking, think of look at what that description of that category is, and make sure you are doing. I've had people put things in to compete, and they didn't even look at the criteria that they needed, and it didn't fit. So how can we let you win if it's like carving, and you had a little bit of carving and it wasn't enough carving? If it's a carving category, it has to be predominantly carving. If it's mixed media, that's a little different. If it's painting, it's got to have painting on it. Filigree, it better have filigree. If it's a category like animals, well then it better, just look at the description of the category. Check it off when you do it. Did I do this? Some people don't do that. It's amazing that they don't do that. And then they wonder. And also, when you're doing certain things like painting, for instance, I dye more than I paint. But there's such a thing as overpainting, where you go over the line, like when you're learning in kindergarten. You stay within the lines. You can get liquid masking tape. It's liquid. You can paint that on that there, so that when you paint your other, it doesn't go over. It goes onto that liquid masking tape, and then you can peel it away. That will help you get better lines. But when you're done, pick up your piece, turn it upside down. A lot of people don't do that. It's like, turn it upside down, because there'll be places you didn't get. Now remember, in most competitions all the judges pick things up, they look at it. I look inside. I don't want that inside to be undone. I don't care what you're doing. Look inside and finish it off. Now, if you're novice and intermediate, most of the people just do it black or whatever. I'd like you to get a little bit more intricate if you're going to be in advanced and masters, of course. But intermediate, novice, look at the inside, clean it up, or the back, whatever, make it all so that you're looking at the whole thing. You're not just looking at what you're looking at the front. Turn it upside down. Sometimes paint didn't get in certain places. A good thing is to put a certain color over the whole thing when you're first starting, so that when you do the next coat of paint, there's always some paint everywhere because it got in every crevice. But turn it over. Get little teeny brushes. Good brushes to get when you want to do this is in the beauty world. You know, the nail art, they have fine, fine brushes. And they aren't that expensive sometimes. Look there if you want that really fine line. Because if you're going to be in the category of painting or dyeing, or whatever, make sure you're not over the line. It matters. Now, if you're in advanced and masters, you better do that because we're going to take you out if you're not. But we have a little leeway. Novice, you're not going to do it so well. Intermediate, you're good. But if you want to advance out of intermediate and you're doing any kind of painting, even if it isn't the major thing in your category, don't overpaint. Don't have things spattering where you don't want them to go. Make sure every surface is covered. Turn it upside down. Have somebody else look at it, right? And say, oh, I see this. This is jarring to me. Or I can see a line that shouldn't be here. Well, you know, and look at it that way. Look at it critically. Take a look and say, well, I don't know about this. And if there's a crack, which you could get, there's ways to cover that. You can use mica powders. You can use embossing powders. You can use little sawdust of anything, and you can put it there, and you can use modeling paste. Look at modeling paste. Ways to cover things that you don't want to be seen. You can cover those, but look for them. If you've got fingers and paws, look for where things don't meet. Especially if you've done armatures. If you're doing flowers or you're doing something on top of it, watch how you've glued it on. Is the glue sticking out all over? Or did you wipe it away so it's not everywhere to be seen? You did a good gluing job if you're putting something on there. And if you're filigreeing, and if you're doing carving, make sure you've sanded make sure you've sanded it all. I don't want to see rough things sticking all over. And some people say, well, I want it to be a rough look. Well, in the beginning of this, I showed you the sea turtle. And when I did that filigree, I did have it rough, but I did it all rough. And I made sure that that was noticeable. And at one point, I even sometimes put it in my title. I will put in rough so that the judges know I meant it to be rough. Because otherwise they say, this is a terrible job of filigree. This is a terrible job of carving. You didn't sand the edges. But most of the time you should. You can't just say all the time I want it rough just because you don't want to sand it. Because sometimes it doesn't fit the piece you're doing. Sometimes if you're doing like coral or you want it to, I have a piece which I'll show at the end of this, where the difference between smooth and rough, so you can see. But if it's going to be rough, the judges have to say, this is part of the art. They have to be obvious. But if some of it's smooth and then a little bit of it's rough, they know that's not true. You just didn't go in there. And another way to do it is take emery boards and cut them into a point and use that emery board to get into those little corners. You can find all ways to sand in there and get them all nice and smooth. So if you're going to be doing any kind of carving, and you're going to start, you want to get out of intermediate, we're going to give you more chances there. But if you're in advanced and certainly masters, you have to be looking at sanding everything. Edges, rims, and sand the inside. Make sure everything. Okay, this is an example of filigree which has been sanded smooth. See, you don't see any stuff sticking around when you look at the hole, there's no little fiber or little edges of the gourd. It's all been sanded. Now look over here at this one. I want you to look at the difference. See how rough that is? But all of it's rough. So that tells the judge, okay, they meant for this filigree to be very rough, but they don't mean for it to be that way here. Another example, which I'm going to show you. This is the class I took with Jack. But look at the filigree here. Do you notice it? It's sanded. Every single part of that is sanded. That's important with filigree. You have to make that clean, but not here. But they know if you just had a few of them look like that, they know you weren't thorough. So this is telling the judge, all of this is going to be rough, but this is telling them no. So if one of those, I spent hours with an emery board just sanding those smooth, and the same thing here. And I also did it inside because you see that's filigree in there too. And they looked inside. And then I've got filigree here. I had even those, yes, even those. You have to go in. And another thing that I'll tell you with filigree, if you sand it and then you put dye in it, it makes it fuzzy again. You got to sand it again. Because once you add a little liquid in there, it adds moisture and it makes it fuzzy. So then you have to go back in and you need to sand it again. Also, you have to decide whether you're going to leave it raw where you did the filigree, like that, or are you going to be, this isn't filigree, this is carving. This is different. This is filigree, and this is carving, three-dimensional carving. I went different levels. See how that goes down. So that's really carving, not filigree. I've rounded out, and those are supposed to be a little rough. Those are like roots going in there. But this is a filigree. Now, I painted the inside of that filigree because I wanted it to be colored. Sometimes people leave it raw. If you look at this one, it's been colored. It's not left raw. So you have to make a decision with filigree. This one, I made it all light, very light. Turn it upside down. I know you say, well, I don't have to look at the base. Yes, you do. You don't want it just, you say, well, I want it raw. Well, then sand it nice and raw and put some sort of a covering, shellac on or something. Make it look finished. Like maybe you signed it at the bottom. Sign it nicely. Finish the bottom, finish the back. And just because you think it's at the back and nobody's going to see it, the judges are, they're going to turn it around, right? And they're going to say, oh, well, I can see this is rough. So I have seen, there was one time when I was judging and it was a momentous piece. I was walking up and it went up high. It was gorgeous. And I thought, we all said, oh my God, this is absolutely beautiful. And then we got closer. And as we got closer, we saw, wait a minute, there's overpaint. Wait a minute, this is rough. Why is this way? And the back hadn't been worked on. We could see areas that were still rough gourd. No, you can't do that. You say, well, I don't see it, but the judges do. Now, if you're in intermediate, you're going to get away with some of that, but not advanced and not master's level. So, and another thing we're looking at, once you get into advanced and masters, certainly at masters, it should not be something that's every day. In other words, in masters, I don't expect to see just a bowl. No, that's intermediate. It'd have to be a bowl with something you did that's different, that's pushing that you've used a new product, you've mixed it with something else. It's not just a bowl sitting there. It's got something to merit being advanced or masters. So when you are in those categories and you're going to start competing, because now you're not an intermediate anymore. You've gone with the big people, right? Got to put your big girl pants on or whatever, big boy pants on. So think to yourself, when you're designing it, what can I do? Think about what can be different. What can I do that I could maybe look at YouTube, look at other art forms that you wouldn't maybe even do. Resin art and toll painting and dot art. I don't know, things you would, but they might use something, some product we don't use in what we do, but you could. And then you could, or maybe we do something, but we don't do it on this particular material. Well, you could. And it's like when I did Peddler. I put different things on her surface. I didn't just, lay it like, I wove right on the belly of her. So try to do that when you want to go to that next level. You're going to push it. Advanced and masters are going to push it. I want to see in that level, and a lot of judges do, not the everyday stuff you see. Intermediate, you get to do that. You're going to hone your skills in intermediate. And advanced and masters, you're taking your skill and pushing it. And I can go look and say, oh, I would like to do that. Oh my gosh. A good example is last year at the Southern California competition, there was a person who put in, she made a kiwi. You know the animal, the kiwi, the bird? But she made the body, when she sliced the back of it, into the kiwi fruit. Isn't that clever? So when you looked at the kiwi in front, she said making the feathers on the kiwi almost killed her. It was so hard because she had to paint it and get those feathers right. But then she sliced off the back, and it was a kiwi fruit. And she said she just, I think, took printed a copy of a kiwi and painted it there and then decoupaged it on. Here I found it. There it is. Here's an example of it. But it was so clever. We all noticed that. Oh my God. A play on words. Well, similar idea. What can you do that's going to be that? So once you're in advanced and once you're in masters, especially masters, you need to be pushing that. What am I going to do? And I'm going to be good with it. I'm going to watch if I'm carving, if I'm using clay. I'm going to make sure that I'm looking at all the little stuff. And certainly overpainting should never be anything that you'd see in advanced and masters, because you're already way beyond that. So that's some of my advice I'm giving you when you're going to compete. And remember, let other people look at it, even if they don't know much about relative. Just say, what do you see that jars you? Is anything here, or maybe the color doesn't look right here. Is I shaded it wrong? Is there just something that just glares at you? Because sometimes you're so into it, you can't see it. I always have somebody look at my pieces. Now, one of the things you have to kind of be brave about is, and I always, as an artist, have always pushed, I'm an out-of-the-box artist. I never do things regular. I just never have. So I was, in the beginning, when I was first in Gourding, it was very conservative, very conservative. They were doing painting on, I mean, it was it was bowls, right? It was pictures, it was birdhouses. By the way, I don't like to do birdhouses because of that. But it was just regular stuff. It was just DIY. We weren't thinking of it as fine art. It was just DIY. And when I was thinking of doing things, I thought, I don't know. When I did my intermediate, I did a Maori New Zealand tribal mask with the big tongue sticking up. That was different. Okay, this is the Maori mask. What's different is that I began the idea of taking filigree on top of the gourd, making it three-dimensional, pulling it out, bringing things off the surface. Again, pushing that little envelope. I was pushing that boundary, but that's just me. Everybody doesn't have to do that, but it got me into trouble. I didn't win sometimes. A good example of the Maori mask is, I had put it under masks, and it competed at Gourd stock many years ago, and I was an intermediate at the time. And when the judging was done, I had lost. You can win for the whole category, which would have been a nice big win. And when I got done, I had not won the division, and I asked Jack about it. You know, what did I need to do better? And he said this was a very interesting thing. A thing I took to heart is that this is a very fine piece. Jack is a very fine judge, wonderful artist, and he said this is a great piece. He said Bill and I thought it should have won. He said you lost by 1 point. And he said, and you lost to a basket of daisies. Now, the basket of daisies was not unusual. It hadn't pushed any boundaries. It was very well done. But it was a basket of daisies. It had been done, baskets of flowers had been done before. But Jack heard the judges say, which of course they shouldn't say, but they said, well, we like flowers. We like flowers. Well, you're not supposed to like things as a judge. But then I lost. It didn't make my piece any less. Jack said, it's a wonderful piece, but it's the vagaries of competition. So I always remember that mask taught me a lot about competition, and it helped me do better and understand winning and losing. See that figurine right there? It's a woman. It's called Entitled Woman, and I'll get a picture of it later. At the end, I can take a picture closer. But if you look at that, that is wire and gourd and all kinds. It's a very mixed media piece. Well, that piece, when I originally thought about it, it was not a lot of gourd. And the judge I talked to about it was absolutely correct. And she's probably watching this and she knows what I mean. She said, Pam, this isn't, and she was right. Though technically, if you looked at the wire, it was mostly wire and air. So really didn't have that much wire in there if you consider the air around it. So there really was a lot of gourd. I've looked at it since. But it was different. And I had not made it for the gourd competition. I had created it because I wanted to put it into fine art Orange County. Because at the time, the Orange County Fair was really they weren't letting us in. They didn't think that gourd was fine art. They thought it was DIY. Well, that entitled woman sculpture or my rhino, that's not DIY. You don't take a class and make 27 rhinos. There's one. There's one of the woman. It's fine art. So I was making it as a mixed media piece with gourds in it, but I didn't let them know it was gourds. I just said it's mixed media. And it got in. And so I think that I just had a different, but I put it in a gourd competition knowing that I did not meet that criteria. Now it won for its division, category, excuse me. It won for its category because it was pretty awesome, but it didn't win the table. It didn't win the show. It just didn't meet, because things were much more conservative in those days. And I'm not saying they were wrong. They weren't. I was pushing it. But as things have advanced and years have gone, people are getting more and more liberal about it, or I don't even know if the word liberal is a good word, just pushing those boundaries more, trying to do wilder things. We see giant eagles with big wings and feathers and, you know, really interesting ways that people are using products now. And that is always, always good for any art field to be pushing that. You don't have to do that. You can do it within what you do. But I'm saying that that's kind of what I got into. So I didn't always win. So you won't either. And it didn't take me out. A really good example of that, when people say, well, you know, well, you win. But I would like you to look at Rhino. Now, people look at Rhino and they say, well, oh my gosh, of course he won. Of course, of course. No. Yes, he won for the big thing. I won him for the big, got a magazine cover, all that eventually. But in my own backyard in California, he has not done well. When I had it with my own group, he did not win Best of Show that particular. It was a little bit of a problem that time, but he didn't. And at the Orange County Fair, when I put him in, I thought, oh, well, I knew what was there. He came in third because it didn't speak to the judge. It didn't speak to that judge, I guess. And I have to accept that. He's not going to be number one. People think that he is, and they say, oh my God, he must win all the time. Not true. So if Rhino can get a third place, you shouldn't feel so bad, right? Because I have to accept it. He didn't do well in California. Now I did put him in the Los Angeles Fair, and of course he did very well there. He did do very well there. But they have a different criteria of judging, and I don't necessarily think that I like that kind of judging. I don't think it's not real competitive. You're just sort of competing with yourself. But so I just want you to know it's not always a given that you say, okay, well, Rhino always win. People have said that to me. No, and I haven't always won. It's not true. I think a piece that's going to win and it doesn't. For some reason, either those judges that didn't like something, or there was a piece that was better or spoke to them. And also sometimes we have some very traditional judges who just want things to be more traditional. They want it to be a picture with, you know, painting on it. Or Native American art does better. So things like that. I don't care. I'm trying to get people to come and see mine and say, oh, I never thought to use that. I could use that in my next piece. That's what I'm hoping. When they look at Rhino, what can they get? Let's do a little steampunk. Let's push ourselves here. Let's try. Also, I used different kinds of product in Rhino. Things that I had gotten from other medias. And it's great because I tried them, they worked, and I tell people, try this with yours and then make your own magical piece. So that's why I'm doing this video. I want you to say, please compete. It's okay to say I want to win. It's okay not to win. And don't worry about it. I have put my pieces in, and I'm a grandmaster, and gotten nothing. I know right now some absolutely phenomenal gourd artists that are my friends that are not master level yet. But they're just phenomenal artists. They're better than me in many areas. So that doesn't really say that, you know, it's just what they chose to compete with. Here's a good example. This is Olive Moore's piece. The year before last, I think, this is the Orange County Fair, and she took the top award in the gourd categories. Look at this. This is absolutely gorgeous work. But Olive will tell you herself, she doesn't always win. Sometimes she doesn't. But look at this, top award. So that's an example. So if they cannot necessarily win all the time, then you aren't either, and don't worry about it. But put it in for the fun of it. Put in for what you can learn from it. Do some of the things I told you to do. Another thing I want to put in, if you've looked at some of my videos I have here, I talk about presentation. I think presentation is important, even if it isn't judged. It's still important. Don't just put it on the table. I'm talking about put it on something. Raise it up. Do something that, I don't show Rhino flat like that. He's usually on a risen thing. I get stands. And stands don't have to be Gourd stands. Look around in thrift stores. Like cheese trays, cheese stands, cake stands, candle stands, all these different things that have come up. I think if you can see her there, can you see? She's on just I guess a friend of mine went to a shop and they were on sale. These are just like little, maybe for candles or something that for your host for Christmas or something. And it's a really great, also Lazy Susans that can turn. Also, if your piece is small enough, you can get battery run Lazy Susan kind of things that'll turn it. And if you want everybody to see the whole thing, that's kind of nice too. You can get fairy lights that are run with batteries and stick them inside and they run with remote. Like I said, all kinds of different things to look at. But when you're going to put it in, think about the whole thing. And also, the eye's going to look down too far. If you raise it up off the table, it brings the judges and everybody's eye up to see it better. A good example is if you look at, again, I have to turn it slowly so you can see it. Okay, you see the fiber art piece that I have here. Now, it's on a upside down basket, but I also had it higher. She was on, not this of course, but she was on, so it brought her up because you want to see her higher up. You don't want to see her at just level. So I raised her up when I put her, so that she wasn't the lowest thing on that table. And I think it's very helpful to bring your pieces up higher. You got me back again. So I'm trying to make sure that I've told you everything that I wanted to talk to you about. And I hope I'm encouraging you. I hope I'm encouraging you. If you're a student of mine and you did fiber, would you please put it in the Orange County Fair this year? I don't care. Just put it in. They need them. They don't have very many. If you do baskets, please put something in the baskets in the Orange County Fair. Gourders, okay, goes without saying. And somebody said, and I'm not competing in the Orange County Fair this year. Fiber, I might be putting something in. I'm certainly going to try to put a basket in, but I'm not this year in Gourding. I have other things that I'm working on. Maybe fine art is what I'm thinking of. So that's kind of where I am right now. So I'm moving on to different things. I feel like I want to leave it for other people to compete and win. So go ahead and put something in. Please look at it, but I'm giving you some criteria to look at. Don't forget there's always a San Diego Fair, and it's too late now for this year for the Los Angeles, but that's always a good one. And then this fall we have the Southern California competition, so we want people to know about that. You can look on the website, see if you want to be part of it. You can always message me, and this is a YouTube video. Please give me a thumbs up, by the way. I would be this is not monetized, guys, but when you do the thumbs up, it causes the channel to be taken more seriously. It's easier for me to have it up, and it reaches more people. If you can make a comment, even yay, or just anything, it's the way the algorithm is written. It doesn't cost you anything. That's why you always hear YouTubers say, can you give a comment? Or they ask you, where are you from? They're just trying to get people. So what I mostly, for the algorithm, need is the thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't, guys. Just put it up, because it's amazing. I can get 100, 200 views, and I get 5 thumbs up. But people liked it. They just didn't think about that. But also, if you can just leave a comment, even like the video, or tell me what I could do better, please. I'm not good at these videos. That will help me. So hope this helps. I'm going to do some editing of this, of course, right now. But I'm hoping that getting ready for the competition season, I've helped you. If you want more information, leave a message right here. Go in the message and ask me a question. I'll get back to you. I had a lady talk to me, said, oh, can I take a class in fiber from you? And I said, well, where do you live? And she told me, I said, down the road from your house is one of the best fiber classes, felting stores. I order from them, and they're right near you. She didn't even realize that Living Felt was in her area. Serafina Fiber was close to some people. They didn't have to find me in Southern California. They had it in their own backyard. But I will answer you. So if you need to know some information, just leave me a message and I'll get back to you. Okay, hope this was helpful, guys. Bye-bye. Let's see if I can get this right. I wanted to tell you about the competition that I want you to know about and put stuff in, and that is going to be the Orange County Gourd Society is sponsoring a competition which is sanctioned by the California Gourd Society, and it's held at the Wellburn Gourd Farm in Temecula. And this year it will be September 23rd through the 27th, and there are going to be classes that you can sign up for, and there will be a competition you can put your pieces in, and so pay attention to those dates, and you can go on the Orange County Gourd Society's webpage. They have a web page and they also have a YouTube channel, but the web page is there also. You can also contact me, but then that's where you can put pieces in. You don't have to belong with us. You can join in. You can put a piece in, even if you're not with our group. So I just wanted you to know about that competition. I forgot to give you the dates and I wanted to do that. So again, September the 23rd through the 27th, it will be held at the Wellburn Gourd Farm. So you can look that up. They have a website, the Wellburn Gourd Farm in Temecula, and they will have the information on that also, because they're letting us go there and do our competition. And then you can also look for the Orange County Gourd Society, and they will have information there too. Or just contact me, and I can tell you more about it. Just put a little message down in here, but we really want to get people to put stuff in there. It's coming up, and that's what I almost forgot to not tell you about. I wanted to be more specific about it.